Howdy folks, my name is Darren from RC Scale Models, and today we're back with you with a brand new kit from Academy, just been released, 1/48 scale A-10C Warthog or Thunderbolt. Let's get into this one. So nice box art. This is a real image of one of the aircraft. This aircraft is actually in the kit. There is some differences. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think this targeting pod is not used anymore. So I'm not sure why that's still on the aircraft. Feel free to let me know what's up with that. The C, I know there's obviously, I think the C is the latest version of the A-10. So we have this side of the box. What the model looks like when it's built up. It comes out very nicely. If you're interested in the kit number, it is 12348, which is pretty easy. And then obviously tons of colour callouts, which I do like, so whatever you prefer to use. And then inside the box there's tons of plastic. It's very sturdy. So we have some warnings, tons of plastic. These are some of the new parts. Tons of slide moulding, especially these cowlings, and the whole body at the back. You're not going to have any seam lines. That's going to be nicely done. So there's one, clear parts, 2, 3, 4 bags. Each bag contains 2 sprues, so that's probably about 12 sprues in total. We have 2 lots of instructions. We have your markings, and this is a canopy mask, so they look very vibrant, and a couple of more warning symbols. So as always, we start off with the instructions. Strangely, we get 2 lots of instructions, one colour and one black and white. I don't know why they've done that, unless they just got halfway through and then changed their mind. So the very first step is all your colour callouts like it is on the box. So we have AK, Tamiya, we have Humbrol, we have guns, we have Revell, Vallejo, so tons of manufacturers. Just to be aware, some of the symbols just to pay attention to, because some parts are changeable within the kit, obviously, I imagine. So it is a pull-out page. I mean, I'm not a fan of these, especially when it's for filming, because it is tricky to work with. So as always with most aircraft, you're starting with cockpit, and this one, on this one it's the cockpit and fuselage and the front landing gear. So what we have is the front landing gear, side walls and detailed plumbing. Then we have the top part. There isn't a ton of that you're going to see inside this, so a basic white, and then a bit of a wash of some sort, and I think that'd be more sufficient, because you don't see a ton of it because it's quite a tight landing bay at the front. They're asking for the nose landing gear to go in quite early. I'm hoping we can put that in later, because I'm not a fan of landing gear going in so early, because you're asking for trouble and it getting broken off. Hopefully we can check that out when it comes to build it. We do, as I say, we do get canopy masks. These are for your wheels as well. So no need to buy aftermarket for Edward or whatever, because it comes in the kit. So I do like that. Ejector seat, nicely detailed. Cockpit is one tub. There's nice raised detail on there by the looks of things. In goes the seat, flight stick, head-up display, cockpit instrument panel. With the newer version, it's going to be some touch screens, and there isn't a ton of detail in here. What comes with the kit is pretty damn good. I have had a sneak peek already, and I think just a decent upgrade for this would be a Quinta Studio or something like that, or Red Fox or whatever, is more than sufficient. That's probably the only upgrade you probably need to do to this kit. Once that is built and painted, and however you decide to do it, in goes the front as normal, 2 halves together, that's pretty standard. And then turning it over, we have the lower section, which is part of the nose, and landing gear is all one. A couple of details on the landing gear, which will be the doors, and then the front and the tube, which is slide molded, which would be basically the fuselage tail and body, whatever, as one piece, which I do like, because you ain't got to worry about seam lines like you have on the Hobby Boss one. So it's going to require less work and easier build. Your pilot colour callouts is optional. There are 2 pilots in the kit, even though you only need 1. So your pilot can go into your spare box. We have hard points on the actual fuselage, which should be for, let's imagine, for fuel tanks and stuff. Structural spars on the side. Then it's the wings. Basically left and right is exactly the same, you just follow the process. So it's 2 halves to the upper and lower of the wings. Then these are your flaps. This section here contains the landing gear on the wing as well. So again, there isn't much detail and it's quite a tight fit, so you don't see an awful lot. More hard points going in. And then here is more hard points. Some of your weapons, how you're going to display it with or without weapons. So we have missiles. They're probably like sidewinders or something, I'm not 100% sure. This is the main landing gear again, nicely detailed. That can go in later. This is the same again of the other side, more hard points and some of your weapon laid out. So it looks like we have a sniper pod, some bombs and your missiles. Again, canopy masks, calling out for your wheels. And this is the process of the other side, repeating your wings and stuff. And then some more weapons, looks like another sniper pod. This looks like rockets, some form of guided bomb of some sort. Is it GBUs? I'm not sure. This is the other landing gears, exactly the same. Here, hard points, your weapon loadout. Attaching the wings, the fit looks a little bit tricky. Hopefully they do fit in nicely. I have noticed there's no actual wing spar in this one, so how strong those wings are going to be, I'm not sure. If it's on the ground it might be okay, but if you're having it in a flight mode or flight, I'm not sure how strong that's going to be. Then we have this funny looking piece. So this might go in first and then your wings on top of it, I'm not sure. You have to check that out. And then it's instructions 2. So this is instructions 2. Why they've done it like this I don't know. So your first step of instructions 2, you have a slide moulded nose by the looks of things. This is that guidance system on the front. Some of the newer versions don't have this, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So it just comes to check your reference material, whatever markings you're doing, just to make sure your aircraft actually has that. Because that's, as I say, I'm not sure about that being used anymore. Your gun, it's just a little, is it the 30 caliber machine gun, or on this? You only get a little stubby bit at the front, which is okay, but this little slit at the front here, if you look down here you would actually see the barrels, and obviously there's no barrels on this, so you might have to scratch build that with some styrene rod. That's not a biggie, but you might have to do something about that. Your wings, 2 halves, flaps, pretty standard. Fuel tank going on is optional, your choice. Pitot tubes, your wings, the tail, again slide moulded, which is nicely. This is a slide moulded engine nacelle piece, which is nicely done. You haven't got about seam lines again, and hopefully it'll be a nicer fit. But there is some differences with this one and the Hobby Boss one. The Hobby Boss one you can have open and you can get aftermarket engines, which I'm currently doing. This version, unfortunately, because it is moulded as one part, is obviously going to be a closed. But I still recommend this kit over the Hobby Boss one. It is a nicer looking kit. These parts are your basic engines, your fans. Again, Hobby Boss ones, the cowling and the fans are one piece. So when it comes to moulding and painting, it'll be a bit tricky because these are separate. it makes it easier so that you can paint these, and it shouldn't have to worry about masking and stuff. So that's nice. I do prefer that. Canopy masks, again, they are calling out for your front shield to be masked off. Some leading edge slats, and then your engines going in, canopy open or closed, which is a nice touch in this one. Again, the Hobby Boss one only has it in closed version. To have it open on the Hobby Boss one, it requires some surgery on this part here, but this one has it in the kit from the get-go, which is good in my opinion. Optional for the ladder. Again, it's nicely done. This section here is to do with charging, I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, but you can have it open or closed. Again, it's nicely done. Here, stencil data is standard. More stencil data at the sides. Some reference material just to pay attention to, because there are some of these red markings. I'm not sure what they're for either. This is some of your first call outs, top view and bottom view of the grey schemes. All the schemes in this aircraft are based on the same colour scheme and pattern, but just the markings are slightly different. So for the very first scheme, we have this one here, which is on the box art. Again, it has a nice shark mouth. I'm a fan of shark mouth on my aircraft. Typical camouflage for the modern aircraft, which is the greys. This is the 75th fighter group, or bomber group, whatever it be. Afghanistan 2014, so nicely done. This one down here is the 75th as well, and this is normal squadron scheme, shark mouth, and then this one up here is this aircraft and this aircraft are the same, but this one here is the anniversary scheme for the Flying Tigers. So if you're not familiar with the Flying Tigers, they were P-40 aircraft during World War II, and the pilots were basically volunteers pilots, and they were flying for, is it Korea, I think, defending that part from United States to Korea during the wartime against Japanese. So they're very famous aircraft and pilots and stuff. So I say this is the anniversary scheme. So again, typical paint scheme, the same shark mouth, but the difference is this tail has the camo and the tiger. The latest version in this is 2021 to 2022 scheme, which is here, which is the 51st aircraft, which has the stripy tail and has the horse. So this is the latest version of the aircraft, and you have a black cowling. So like I say, because the cowling is separate, you can paint it separately. So pretty nice schemes. It is typical grey camo, and on the back is your sprue layouts. So I'm not going to get these out because you can see these in the bag. Nicely printed decals, they look very nicely done, very sharp and crisp. As I say, this is what you get for instrument panels. Bit lacking in my opinion, so I think a Quinta set or something like that is more than sufficient. But the rest of it looks pretty good, down to the tigers. Here's your stripes, or your squadron markings. These things here are your flares and chaff boxes. Again, I wouldn't worry about decals because it's raised. I'll just paint it and then a bit of a wash in here. I wouldn't worry about using those decals. Here's your shark mouth, nicely done. And then all your markings. Not sure what these grey bits are though, but they're printed nicely done. There's your canopy mask. I'll pretty just imagine, hopefully it is die cut. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, it is die cut, so I don't know if you can see that on camera, but it is nicely done. So now we're going to take a look at the kit. So these parts we're going to take a look at first. These are probably the ones you're most interested in, especially the slide moulding, especially I am. So here is your tail section and engine parts, very nicely done. and how they get that slide moulded out there is beyond me, how they pull that off. It goes this way up, so this is the back and this is the front. Very nicely done. Nice panel line, rivet detail. Some is raised, some is recessed. Nice. Now this is that tube tail section. So this would be the back. This section, once those pins are cut off, will fit in there. So let's have a look, shall we? Let's have a quick test fit. So now we're going to test fit this and show you what it goes together like. Do you know that fits really good? That's superb, I like that. And then in this bag is your, obviously your nose. How to get these out. Second bag, we have the canopy we will look at. Nicely done, nice the way it's done. So here is your lights. Here is your canopy. They do pretty good clear parts. And then here's your back of canopy. This part out the back is not actually a seam. It's actually meant to be there on the real aircraft. So don't sand that out. It's part of the structural or some form of aerial, but I know it is there. So let's get this back in its bag, because I don't want to get these damaged, because there's some of the important parts. So these are some of the bigger screws in the kit. So these are flaps and wings. So I don't know if this is all fit going to fit on camera. So upper wing section, lower wing section, your flaps, leading edge flaps, a couple of more flaps. This is that guiding pod system. Again, I'm not sure about it. I don't think it's on the aircraft. Your ends for your engines. Like I mentioned before, I prefer it to be done like this because it helps with painting. And then this here looks like a bulkhead. And so again, we have nice rivet detail. And panel lines. Here are some of the other flaps. Again, this is, I imagine it'll be slide moulded the way it's done. Lower wing section. This section here would be where the main landing gear would be. So nicely done. You won't see an awful lot, I don't think. Hard points. So imagine the chaff and flares go in these boxes on the wings. So yeah, that is nicely done. Other large sprue contains your tail, and then your upper wings, flaps and ailerons and stuff are moulded in, which is a bit of a shame, but nonetheless I can understand where they have to compromise with certain parts of where they've done it with slide molding, where they haven't, because that is quite expensive to do these days. And to keep this kit at a reasonable price, you will have to compromise with some areas. So these are leading edge flaps. These are your main landing gear parts. These are support parts. I think these were at the side of the aircraft, if I remember correctly. More flaps. These are the inserts of your flaps. Basically this sprue is identical to how Hobby Boss has done theirs. As I say, the only difference is with the extra slide moulding, makes it a nice cleaner build. So again, the tail has raised and recessed mixture, just how it would be. Here's a bulkhead. Here are your tails, nicely done. Here's one of those little doors on the front. I think it's to do with to charge your batteries or whatever. This pit goes on top of the aircraft. It hides one of the seams. Another hard point. Another tail section. Flaps. More flaps. More flaps. And these are the inserts of the flaps. These are the framing for your landing gear. These sections at the back here where your flares and chaff goes. These are those supports at the side. So again, nicely done. So this section here we have some more parts. So we have a couple of small ones we could look at. So this section here is the lower nose section, so this is your front landing gear. It's like I mentioned before, you don't see an awful lot, but I'm hoping you can put the front landing gear in later, not early, because I'm not a fan of that. And I remember me mentioning about this little slit at the front. If you look down here, you would actually see barrels, but this kit doesn't have that, so some scratch building is going to probably be required. Just some styrene tubing or rod will take care of that. Now, this is the inside of the cockpit side wall. Again, nicely detailed, but you don't see an awful lot. Main instrument panel, again, is nicely done, but a Quinter set will just make this a little bit nicer. Your flight stick. Here is slide molded tail, the cowling to go over the instrument panel, pitot tubes and aerials and stuff. So this is nicely done. And we have two of these sprues. This is where everything gets doubled up because this is engines and wheels and turbines and weapons. So as you can see here, we have your missile, your bombs. These go together. These is one mould, I imagine, and then you've got your fins just to attach. This is another bomb. These are your engine parts. Like I mentioned, I prefer these to be separate because it makes it easy for painting. Your wheels, nicely done. Another bomb. This is inserts of the engine, so I won't worry about that because you don't see that. Pilot figure, nicely done. There is two of those, obviously. Two different heads. Probably a later and early version, or visor down or up, I'm not sure. We'll have to look at that. A couple of arm options in different places. A very small tube. I imagine this is for your pilot. This is probably his breathing tube. These attachment points up the top here are little hooks that all your weapons get attached to. So these are your attachment points. Another weapon or bomb of some sort. So engine detail, fans, even these parts here would be slide molded to get these done. Here are your rocket pods, the back and front and used ones. So it's your call. A guided bomb of some sort. Your fans. Here's your wheel assembly. It is weight on wheel as well. There's those attachment points. Your missile and your fins. Here's the pilot's head with visor down and visor up, I imagine. Your hands in different poses. He's got his thumbs up and hand down, probably on the flight controls. This is the breathing tube. Other hand, your pilot body. Give my camera focus. So nicely done. More weapons. Inserts of the engine, which you don't see, apart from tips at the back. So yeah, so there's two of those, because it doubled up for everything, left and right side. Now these are the last two screws for the kit. We have one large and then one small, which is weapons again. So here contains the front nose, which is two halves. So there is a couple of seam lines you may have to take out, but it's not a biggie. Cockpit area. This looks like lower spine. This part of the cockpit. The back ends of the wheels, so there are two halves. May have to get resin wheels, use your choice. It's up to you. This is the small wheel at the front. Loads of detail parts. A couple of hard points, again slide moulded. We'll take a look at that. Slide moulded down this side. Slide moulded down this side by looks of things. Slide moulded this one, so this is definitely sprue from coming from the sides, top and bottom, top and sandwiched as well. So it'd be sandwiched, sides, top and bottom to make slide moulding. So you can see the slide moulding here to get this detail on top, sides and bottom. Same for these hard points. Again, you haven't got to worry about two halves, no seams. It's all going to be nice and clean and quicker build. I'm impressed with that. Now this is the front fuselage. You're going to get side detail, and then to get this top section of detail is going to be slide molded from this side. Here's your door, the backs of your wheels, more slide molding from this side for your hard points, and to get this detail on your landing gear. And then again slide molded from this side, more hard points. Here is your cockpit tub. For raised detail, that is really good. Maybe you get away with just painting and dry brushing, and if you got a pilot in there, it'd probably be more than sufficient, because it's going to pilot. If you do have the pilot, it's going to take up a lot of room, and then again, it's just your call. But I think adding the Quinta set would probably just be a nicer fit. So if you're listening, Quinta, I would like one of this for this kit. You did it for the Hobby Boss. I would like it for this kit as well, please. So yeah, nicely done, Academy. I'm impressed. You want a winner. And then last sprue is your fuel tanks, sniper pods. There is no actual official call out of how you want to lay the aircraft. You're going to have to work that out for yourself, but they give you the basics in the kit to do it. So fuel tanks and your fins, sniper pod. There is slide molded on this one as well. So all these fit together to make up a sniper pod. Drop tank. That is two halves, sadly. So it's nicely done. So there you are, my friends, another beautiful kit from Academy. Some decent technology. You can see there's a ton of slide mold in this one, and the way they've done it is much better than the other competitors that are out there, especially like Hobby Boss. like I mentioned before, this is what I'm building at the moment, but this is going to be a much better version, but there are some slight differences, but as I say, I think this is way much better. If you're interested in getting this kit, it's a fresh release, and like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you later.